You're very clever, Reno. Hello and welcome to Comic Dissection, the intersectional leftist comic book club where we talk about comics and discuss them.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
We read comics and discuss them. Talking and discussing is the same thing, isn't it?
We talk about them and discuss them without having to read them, which makes us experts.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm Reno V, and that's Cecilia Rose.
Oh yeah, I forgot that part.
Sorry, I got you. And before we get into our comic for this episode, I have a very brief side tangent I want to get. DC Comics put out a little supplemental. I think it was shipped in previews, but it doesn't really matter where it came from. It's called it's DC's Essential Graphic Novels. And it's kind of funny because any of you who are Patreons and listened to the Into the Spider-Verse, I was talking about how it's kind of obnoxious when you have characters pop up in media and people want to read up on them and there's not a clear avenue of how to do that. DC apparently heard me and released essentials for the graphic novels or trade paperbacks for a lot of their major characters, everyone from Harley Quinn, Batman to Superman, Wonder Woman. They've even got one for different age groups, young adult, middle grades.
That's actually really
They've got a section for Pride, and so on and so forth. And I mention it because your local comic shops will probably have this, and it is free, and they will give you a copy of it, most likely. And you will find that a lot of things that are in it we have covered, such as Nice House on the Lake, Why the Last Man, Sandman, at least sort of. We've covered that.
We will eventually get
so we're hitting a lot of the stuff, a lot of the things we're supposed to be hitting. I flipped through here and there were like 7 or 8 different ones that were ours, and I was like, oh, that's good, yeah. Oh, we got that one too. Oh.
Well, to be honest, Reno is hitting a lot of the things that.
I mean, the Pride ones were all you.
Well, that's fair. That is true.
And the Sandman was a group project, if nothing else. Although we will eventually also do the Sandman. Like, I would love to go back and read the Sandman. Any excuse to do that. So it will.
Any excuse for more Neil Gaiman.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. It will eventually be covered here. I promise. But
this
week has nothing to do with DC Comics or the essential reads of their universe. What are we doing, Cecilia?
We are doing Heaven Official's Blessing on Bilby episodes 1 through 29.
I will keep calling it Heaven's Official Blessings and putting the apostrophe S in the wrong spot. Mm-hmm. For whatever that's worth.
It took me ages when I first got into it.
I feel like when you were first telling me about it, you might have been saying
I probably was, because
yeah.
It took me a while to realize that it's not Heaven's, it's Heaven Official's Blessing.
Yeah. Officials, as in authority figures.
Yep.
As in gods, in this case.
It is gods in this case.
Amongst other strange creatures.
I did a little bit of background.
Oh, good.
The anime is dropping its 2nd season. It's I think on hiatus right now, but it is doing a beautiful job. And eventually I'm going to make you watch that too.
Fair. That might be one of our supplementals for
and
the Patreon.
I just finished the last book just came out a couple weeks ago, and I finished it. So this has been all I've been thinking about.
So the story
anyways.
Is complete for you.
It is.
Okay.
Which is part of the reason why this is so much fun for me. I'm not going to lie, going back and rereading it and knowing
where things end up,
how everything ends, and seeing all these little things, and I'm wondering how much you're going to catch and how much how much you'll be able to predict and see. So, Heaven Official's Blessing is written by Mao Zhang Tongzhu, called MXTX most often. She is a globally renowned renowned and New York Times bestselling author. His works
Holly
are
Da.
often cited as the most well-known of the modern Danmei genre. Her and Priest are very popular Danmei authors, and so is Meat Bun. They have some...
All their real names.
Yes, totally. She wrote... actually, I got a point on that in a minute.
My parents almost called me Meat Bun.
Aww.
Yeah, they decided on Reno. It was the last minute.
So she wrote all of my favorite books. Scumvillain Self-Saving System, which is my favorite series that she's wrote. Grandmaster of Diabolism or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. And she's working on a 4th series called The Grim Reaper Has No Days Off.
She's got a thing for titles.
I love it. I love it so much. Heaven Official's Blessing is a Chinese genre fantasy novel series built around the romanticized love between two men, which is what Danmei is. All of this is from, like, Wikipedia. I just Googled, like, because I didn't know how else to explain it to you.
That's quite fine. Again, as long as you cite your sources.
We were just having... That's one of the reasons why I'm making sure you know. I didn't do any research. This is Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, Danmei is boy love, basically. So Zanya is literally means immortal heroes. It is a Chinese fantasy that's heavily inspired by their mythology, by Taoism, Chan Buddhism, martial arts, traditional medicine, and folk religion, as well as alchemy and just Chinese culture. Heaven Official's Blessing is a manhwa based on the Chinese web novel of the same name. Here it is illustrated by Star Ember, and his new chapters are published weekly on Bilibili. It was first announced the 15th of August in 2019. They finished 7 volumes for the novel. I think for the manhwa too.
Okay.
But they had to rework it because a lot of people were complaining that, like, it was a little hard to follow from the manga. Star Ember's the artist. I did look into it, but very little is known about them because Danmei is a legal gray area or even illegal in China. A lot of artists and writers have to be very secretive about their identities.
Hence our aliases.
Hence why one of the authors is called Meat Bun. So it's unknown who Star Ember is. All I do want to do is just say thank you for your work because the artwork in this is absolutely stunning.
I will say without any aplomb that the art is, for me, the best thing about about this. The story's fine, characters are fine, but the art is it's next level.
It's so really gorgeous. Like, it is beautifully. Yeah, I wrote down one of the things I love is how the story starts with all these little things that get fleshed out later. And like I said, spoilers, I'm not going to give you anything unless you ask a technical question about something. I'm going to try to see. I want to live an experiment and see how when we do this, because we've done this somewhat before where you've read ahead on something and I have it and you're like, I wonder what you'll pick up on. It always feels like a test I'm destined to fail. I tend to go in the... when I try and predict, I always tend to go in, like, the complete wrong direction. Here's what I think's going to happen. Like, I honestly... Because I do spoilers, this is not a thing that happens to me very often. I can't do a story without looking to see what happens.
Yeah.
But... It's fun for me because you're so against spoilers. And honestly, even with knowing what's going to happen, it's still fun to get on these little, like, I wonder if this is going to, like...
Yeah. You're almost fan-fictioning as you go.
That is a really good way to look. You know what?
It's a fan-fiction I can actually do. And
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, without further ado... We start our story with a little bit of a prologue.
We're starting in episode 0.
Episode 0.
Yeah.
And it talks about it starts with explaining that Shanli was the country. It was beautiful and rich, and there were all these treasures and music and riches. And the illustrious crown prince, who is our main character, Prince Xie Lian, was an extremely talented man who greatly cherished the world. And basically, you just get this little backstory about how he defeated spirits and was very renowned for his cultivation. And then later, Xie Lian was demoted from heaven. He was basically cast out, and all of the good stories told about him were lost. And then eventually he ascended again, and then was promptly thrown out of heaven again.
Yeah, I wrote they ought to call this Heaven's Constant Demotions. Ought to be the name of this tale. Because this guy's not getting blessings; he's getting just dropped.
He ascends, he gets thrown back down. He ascends, he gets thrown back down.
Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down.
I love the line, Xie Lian crossed swords with heaven's strongest martial god. In less time than it would have taken for a stick of incense to burn, he was demoted once again. So, yeah, basically you're just getting a little summary. When he's on his second demotion, Xie Lian spends a lot of his time helping people and collecting scrap, and that's how he gets known as the scrap god. He becomes the laughingstock of the three realms.
Very careful. Be careful. If you're trying to achieve godhood, you have to be careful because every single thing you do might be the thing that you become a god for. It's that old joke of the guy who's in the village. He's like, oh, I've painted thousands of fences, but they don't call me the fence painter, and I've fucking built thousands of barns, and you call me the barn builder, but you have relations with one goat or whatever. Like, this guy picks up a little trash on his days off, and now he's the garbage collector of the gods.
I love him. Mm-hmm. It becomes... So, I started this story because I really liked Hua Cheng. And Hua Cheng is my favorite character to exist ever, period. But I do appreciate Xie Lian, although he takes a little bit longer to grow on me.
It takes him a while to become what he will. I'm making notes because I don't want to keep mispronouncing people's names. So, Xie Lian is how... There.
All of my pronunciations are taken from the podcast BLHQ.
Yeah.
Because they are both. Is Oriental correct? I'm not sure. I think
Oriental
one of them
is only for stuff.
Okay.
I
believe
my understanding is right. They are of Asian descent.
Asian. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, because one of them is Korean or like. And I think one of them's Chinese, but I'm not...
Yeah.
I don't delve into...
It is hard for a Western audience because there's someone who's really into the romance of the Three Kingdoms and who listened to an entire podcast about it. It is so hard because every character has a Shin and a Xia and a X's in their names that we as Western there's I don't know how to pronounce an X except as an X like in X-ray or X as in fox. I do not know how any of these names.
I've been trying really hard to remember how to pronounce things because I am reading a lot of Chinese danmei. That's basically all I've been buying lately, and it is difficult.
It's definitely changed too because the Romance of Three Kingdoms, they had video games called Dynasty Warriors, which are loosely based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is about three kingdoms in China trying to become one kingdom, trying to form modern day China.
That's
and it's there's some great stories in it. Overall, it's kind of like the Bible. There's a lot of really boring parts, but
who begots who?
Yeah, who the begots and the begots. But there's also some amazing stories. But those games have been coming out since the PlayStation 2. And so in the PlayStation 2, the leader of the Way, one of the groups, they pronounced his name as Cao Cao because it was CAO. And then in later games, they realized that C was actually pronounced as an S, and it was Xiao Xiao. And so his name pronunciation would change. So I think us as the world becomes more connected and we become one glorious new world order, eat that, Alex Jones. The these name things will become less of an issue because we will have someone who knows how to say it properly in-house to be like, okay, actually that's pronounced, when you see an XIE, it's pronounced like a she. And so...
Well, and one of the things that the novel does is at the end, there is a glossary and a pronunciation guide to help you out. I admit that I mostly kind of skipped over the glossary.
I mean, if you never, until now, you probably never planned to say these names out loud. So it's like, whatever they sound like in my head's fine.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one who is experienced.
Well, and some of these, like, I'll be perfectly honest, because right here, like, it introduces Xie Lian's friends, who, well, they're not his friends now, but they started out as his servants and his friends. The god of the southeast, Fengxian, and the god of the southwest, Muxing.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I just didn't care who they were. Because they weren't, until, like...
That is another thing, a trick. And I think we talked about this with Psychopaths, too. Like, it frustrates me is... and apparently it is not just in Japan. But this idea of, like, I'm going to throw 700 characters at you. And I'm not going to give you any clues which ones are important. You'll just find out later that half those names you didn't even need. I'm like, then don't give them to me. I can't handle all this.
To MXTX's credit, all of these people are important, but they, like, the story builds on itself.
Right.
So they aren't super important for this first arc.
Oh, well, don't give me their names till you got some story with it. Like, don't be like, oh, yeah, by the way, this guy's name's Joe. And then 30 chapters later, give me a whole lot about Joe. Just introduce Joe then.
The thing that confused me the most is that all of these characters have their names, and then they also have, like, their palace names, or, you know, like, their kingdom names or whatever. And trying to keep, like, clear who is who is a headache. And I had a lot of trouble with that.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, when what's his name? San Lang, again.
San Long.
San Long gets introduced. He's like, I am San of the House Long, also known as Xia of the Lian. And I'm like, so which is it? Like, you giving me, like, 4 names?
A lot of the... Because these are all, like, ancient China, they have their, like... their family names, and then they have their titles, and so it gets to be a lot to try to, like, keep track of.
And it becomes less as you do more of it. Like,
it's true.
I used to think that, like, Senpai was like a first name. I was like, man, a lot of people are named Senpai in Japanese stuff.
It's a very common name, and no, it does get to be easier the more you do it, because at this point I don't have as much trouble keeping track of who's who.
Right. And I am very much like you in Transformers or He-Man. I'm like, all these people look the exact same. I have no idea who's
Well, look-wise, there is something to be said for the fact that they are all drawn kind of similar.
Guys, girls, they're all pretty face, long black hair, like same robes in a lot of cases. I'm like, all right. Until someone says someone's name, I'm just gonna guess at who these people are.
All right, you can keep track with some of them with their hair. Fengxian has a bun. Muxing has long hair and a ponytail.
Might be hair blind. Might be a thing.
So, anyways, continuing on.
Yep.
The Crown Prince ascends for the 3rd time, and that is where the story starts proper. We're on chapter 1 now.
Yep.
And Xie Lian, I wrote down Xie Lian, fresh on his 3rd ascension, comes into heaven breaking shit. He immediately gets threatened with banishment again, because he breaks the golden bell.
Sometimes things happen, you know.
And now we meet Ling Wen. Mercy. Ling Wen is the only female heavenly official that gets any screen time.
Yeah. And
she is, of course, in charge of all the paperwork. Yeah. So.
Yes. She's the #1 secretary of heaven.
Yep. Which, spoilers, but it's funny later. So, Xie Lian owes a whole bunch of money because he broke the bell and then toppled some palaces. And almost
I'm glad
crushed.
that, like, even in godhood, you still have, like, credit card debt. Like, that you'll never escape it. Like, there's just no way out.
He almost crushed General Hua Cheng, which I think is Feng Shen. Or no, that might be Mu Xing. It's Mu Xing.
Okay. So he's one of the martial gods.
Yes, that's one of
a cardinal direction of some sort.
He is one of the people who used to follow Xie Lian. He used to be when a god ascends, they can bring up people to help them.
Yeah, you got to have a cabinet.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So he owes 8.88 million merits,
And
just straight off the cuff.
But he's got a job that if he does this job, he can
well, he has no money, but
find the girl, erase the debt.
Yeah, Ling Wen is like, hey, the emperor needs some help, and if you help the emperor out, this will help pay some of your debt down.
Yeah.
So
let me. This is my worst nightmare because she's like, let me put you in a group chat. Let me put you in a group chat with the other gods. This is really just because they don't have cell phone technology in heaven. They can just like tap the side of their head and go into apparently just the god group chat where everyone's talking.
Well, so there are different arrays.
Okay.
And basically they are in like the communal array. You can also do like one-on-one messages talking to just one person, but you have to have a person's personal communication array password to talk to them.
Yes, it really is just instant messenger, right?
It is just instant messenger.
Gotcha.
So they go into the group chat, and
the Discord public server.
Ling Wen is talking, and then Xie Lian says that he's the one who needs help, and suddenly it is crickets, because nobody wants to help him.
Yeah.
He is basically the outcast god.
The lowest rung on the ladder.
No one likes him. People make fun of him. He's the god of scraps and misfortune, which probably explains why I like him. I have a real underdog
He is that.
thing. So, actually, no, Xuanjin is the one who points out that it's Xie Lian asking for help and gets him.
Like, shh, don't tell people.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do exactly what they did and not help me.
Xie Lian is like, all right, it's fine. I'll go do it by myself. And so he jumps down to go try to find the bridegroom. Have they explained that part, or is that...
He's gonna get more details here.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
But yeah, in general, they're looking for a groom ghost kidnapper.
Yep.
A bunch of brides have been disappearing around their wedding day. And,
They get in their little carriage and
the emperor's a little embarrassed about it. So
well, yeah.
telling,
So they do explain.
like, go solve that stuff.
Xie Lian goes to Sheng Feng's store and asks for a plate and some tea, and he's talking to... Actually, he's just sitting down, and then this... I screenshot it. This little panel right here with him and the butterfly.
We get our first shot of what will be a very important little ghost butterfly here.
It's a wraith butterfly.
Yeah.
And
which is explained
later.
Almost near the end of this whole thing.
It is so pretty, but the artwork is just stunning, where the butterfly's on his finger, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, the I don't know if it's all Shin Megami Tensei Atlas stuff, but I know the Persona series, like this little crystal blue butterfly is one of their mascots. Mm-hmm. It goes flying into every Persona. You have a scene with a little like a little clear crystal butterfly flying through. And that's what they reminded me of. So I was like, yeah, hey, little friend.
It's so pretty.
But then some unlikely allies show up, which again, I didn't think anybody wanted to help this dude, but we get a couple of guys who are trying to, I don't know if they're trying to get their own prestige or lower their own demerits or get more incense lit in temples on their names so that they can rise up the ranks. Because in this world... And if I get any of this wrong, Cecilia, feel free to correct me. You are the expert in said matters. But in this world, like, as a god, the amount of power you have. Well, in 2 weeks it'll flip, so enjoy it. Enjoy this power while you have it. In this world, like the amount of power you have as a god is often based on how many worshippers you have and how much people believe in you, which they represent by lighting incense in your temples. So these two might be trying to get some exploits behind their names to get incense. I know they're doing it for selfish reasons. It's said later, but I don't remember what those selfish reasons were.
Nanfeng and Fu Yao are the subordinates that Feng Shen and Mu Xing send to help fight the ghost.
Right. Couldn't come myself, but I can send you a lackey of mine.
Yeah. Nan Yang is Fu Xing's general name, and Huan Shen is Mu Qing's general name. So the person he almost crushed was Mu Xing.
Yeah. Who was still kind enough to send him a helper, which odd, but okay.
They are doing this without the generals knowing that they are there. So this is definitely not above board.
Yeah, he did not send this guy.
They were not, yeah.
Yeah.
I love this so much. So anyways,
a little bit of awkward silence between them.
They don't get along.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to get each other kicked out. But Xie Lian asked if they know who they are or who know who he is. And makes sure that they are there willingly.
Yeah.
And then they start talking about the case, which is the start of episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
We get them in a temple.
Yeah, they've wandered to a temple, and it's nighttime.
It's a Nanyan temple.
And so you get like the this really good lighting, which I think is part of the reason I like this art so well. So the lighting's really good. In a lot of the older Chinese temples, the statuary is wooden. So you have this huge carved wooden statue of somebody or an Oni. I'm not really sure, but
it's Nanyang's temple, so they're Nanyang statues.
So it's a Nanyang statue, and you have light underneath it, like reflecting up onto the wood of the statue, and it's just visually, it's a very calming light and a very good scene. Very, very chillaxed.
It's very pretty.
I like the art style here.
They're talking about the case, and so over the last 100 years, 17 brides have successfully disappeared while they were on their way to get married in the Yujun mountain area.
100 years to solve this problem, and they're finally getting around to it.
Well, apparently, some of the brides were finally rich, so that gets some attention because here's a really So I was scrolling through Twitter. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about how classism factors into having official's blessing. Mm-hmm. And I do think that throughout the story, MXTX does a really good job of sort of like snidely poking at the classism that exists in this society and in in society, even now to today.
Yeah.
This has been a problem for 100 years. For 100 years, there have been missing poor, beautiful people, but it gets attention because the last bride that disappeared is the daughter of a government official.
That's right.
And her father offered a large amount of gold as a reward for finding where she went.
Yes. And it is super depressing that the gods are moved in the same way that, like, politicians are moved. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, can you give anything to my campaign? I'm trying to move up the god ladder, and so if you can give a little something to my campaign, I'd be more than happy to help you with this problem.
It does sort of speak to the underlying problems that exist in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, and then now one could argue, is that even heaven? But they're interrupted by a lady folk coming in. Homely, she's described, which I
do not
agree
understand. She is very pretty.
Yes.
Although you don't see her face at first, but she says a prayer because she needs General Zhao Ying Zhao Ying is her name. She prays to General Nanyang for his protection because she wants them to find the ghost room so that the person that she knows who's been implicated in it can be freed, because she knows that it's not him, but he's getting blamed for it, and so she needs the right person to get caught.
Yep.
And Fu Yao says that she's too ugly, and But she's also got a tear in her dress. So they were hiding prior to listening to her prayer because the gods aren't supposed to be seen by mortals. Mm-hmm. But she's got this little tear in her outfit, and because she said a prayer, I think because she said a prayer that has something to do with the problem that they're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Xie Lian throws his coat to her, and she runs away because 3 men just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. Also, the whole can't be seen by human thing is a rule that is... think of it as the prime directive in Star Trek. Like, they establish it and then they immediately push against it every chance they get. Like, it is just... It's like, we cannot break the rule. They cannot see us. And they are always going to see them. Like, that's just going to be a reoccurring thing.
It's true. Well, I think maybe it's just because the stories we're focusing on... Like, they don't introduce themselves as gods. So, like, they just act like they're cultivators who are trying to solve the problem. But this tiny little rip in her dress is the cause of so much drama. I would not have survived in a day and age in which, like, this much attention is paid to tiny details in clothes.
Yeah.
I cannot do this. I don't... The girl's dress is tore, but she's still fully covered, and they act like some decency has been just
they have
destroyed.
to give her something to wear to cover her shame of an ankle.
Yeah. So she slaps Xie Lian for like appearing out of nowhere and throwing clothes at her.
That causes a neck wound that he has to reopen.
Yeah.
Which again, being a god is nothing like I thought it'd be.
This is explained later.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote down, why is he bleeding? I'm trying to remember that why he's wounded this time and drawing a blank. And it is explained that he fell and he just scratched himself up pretty good.
Yeah.
And you see here a thing that isn't explained yet. But he's got like a tattoo on his neck.
Yeah. Yeah. And he has more of them. He has like one on his ankle as well.
It's a cursed
reveal
shackle.
Later.
A cursed shackle is a branded sin from heaven used to steal the spiritual powers of a banished heavenly official. That is why he doesn't heal immediately.
Yeah. Ain't that a bitch. I will also say this, and this will probably surprise most people. They find a reason for one of them to have to dress like a woman. Which, speaking of common tropes, like, it's like, oops, I was walking and I fell into a dress. Oh, darn. Well, but we gotta do it.
Well, they do explain that it would be unwise to use a woman as bait.
Yeah. Because
she could probably would die doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas the 3 of them are
they always have a good reason. But they also, I feel like they all, like, writers almost always work backwards from the premise, I want to put this pretty man in a dress. And then they have to create the situation for that. It never feels like a natural A to B process.
This is a fair point. I don't want to argue that.
Much like, like for the, heterosexual man thing, like, the woman always finds a way to get stripped down to her underwear. Like, these things happen. I don't know. I didn't write it this way. It's important to the plot.
Well, they
that
do
as
make
she's
a point.
running, the tree snags her top and rips it off her as she's running. I can't help where the story took us.
Oh yeah, it's totally necessary to the plot that when they eat this food, they have a clothes shredding
it makes
orgasm.
them hot, and so they have to throw their clothes.
Yeah.
This feels very much like that. Like,
I mean, maybe it is. Although they do make a point of saying that he doesn't look good in it, although they're wrong. But
I thought there might. I read that line and thought there might be some pushback on
that. I find Fu Yao and Non-Fang's interactions to be exhausting, to be perfectly honest. They're constantly sniping at each other and just, like, being mean.
Yeah.
They're
not
tiring.
Nice dudes.
It is tiring.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The lady comes back after our boy dresses up.
And she apologizes for hitting him and gives him some cream, some ointment for his I think for his wounds, but
And then she explains fully that like there's a sick bandaged boy out there that she's taking care of, and there's a group of vigilantes who are going to go try and collect the reward from the emperor by just blaming him and bringing him in.
And that's the people who tore her skirt as well.
And so she does not want that, so she is asking for them to help.
Well, she actually volunteers to help them because she tells him that she can help fix his dress and his makeup because he is bad at this.
She can make him better. Yes, there's a later scene where he thinks for a second about opening a hair salon because he's doing up another fella's hair, and about 2 minutes later he's like, yeah, I don't have the skill to open up a hair salon. It actually looks worse than it did before it started.
Yep. Yeah. So from there we go to Eugen Mountain and
issue
we get
5.
Yep, issue 5. We get a nice little bit of like a little song about not smiling under the veil.
Yeah.
And
the spirit is singing this song.
Yeah, it's a ghost child spirit, basically. And from there, Xie Lian, who looks very pretty in his makeup that was done by that nice lady, is
the hand of this strange singing spirit and heads into the woods. Which I don't recommend.
Interesting take.
I don't recommend. Yeah.
But yeah, he takes the hand and he walks, and we aren't really.
Yes, I should say what is assumed is the spirit. We don't really, even he's not sure yet. He's asking if maybe this is the spirit, maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Here's the skull.
We are also
which I will step on.
Well, the skull is part of a magical array, and it's keeping the spirits hidden. Like it's kind of acting as like a don't look here kind of thing for what they're doing.
Okay.
So we are also when the dude who helped him out of the carriage steps on it, he's actually showing how strong he is because this is, and as Xie Lian points out, he broke it very easily.
Yeah.
So however strong the spirits are inside, this dude is stronger.
So this person isn't the ghost groom. Who exactly is he?
Yep.
And that is
the end
chapter
of
5. Yeah.
On chapter 6, we get walked under an umbrella.
Thank you.
And because it's raining, or so we think. But the scent of blood is very strong.
Yeah, we got some wolves showing up.
Who didn't they all run away?
Yeah, they were only there for a second.
Yeah. Because they have a fear of umbrellas. Yeah. That's it. They're afraid of umbrellas.
Umbrellas are terrified to wolves.
Xie Lian goes to attack, and the man turns into a rain of butterflies and vanishes.
Here's our second shot of our wrath butterflies.
I wrote down, it's kind of rude to attack for no reason, Xie Lian. And I wonder who he is. Yes, I wonder.
Just a pile of butterflies, dude. Ain't nobody. Probably not even important.
The man in red led Xie Lian straight to Ming Guang's temple, which is housing all of the stolen brides. As we go inside on episode 7.
Yeah. And this temple is lit by a strange blue light. I may occasionally comment on the light because I think it's very well. The light in this is really well done.
Ming Guang's temple is the temple of Pei Ming, who is one of the most trusted gods in the heavenly realm. So Xie Lian doesn't fully understand why there are corpses and wraith spirits.
But he stands with them, kind of hides in the pile of corpses.
Yeah, because he's dressed the right way, and there's 17 of them. So this is all 17 of the brides that have went missing.
Accounted for. And we haven't mentioned this yet, but she has this white long ribbon that can be used as a protective barrier. It can be used as a weapon. It's kind of like he's in the color guard. He can spin it around and do all sorts of tricks with it.
Oh, crap. The word just left my brain. It's a spiritual weapon. That's what it is.
Yeah. And he sees something in the darkness and sends it out. Whippa-schmacka. He whippa-schmackers it out and catches something that ends up running off. And he actively goes chasing. But he runs into Bandage Boy, who at this point we don't have a name for yet. I don't think.
And this
I think
also,
when she was talking about protecting
she just calls
him
her
yeah, she
friend.
didn't give him a name.
There's no name yet.
Yeah.
Actually, the name comes because he doesn't. It comes later.
Yeah.
But this is also where the two groups get reunited because Nanfeng and Fuyao and Nanfeng were trying to find the group of assholes and stop them from doing anything
Unfortunately, stupid. they show up at the same time.
Yeah, everybody pulls in together now. So all of
the punks come in at the same time, and it's very fun. It's very strange and funny, and just a translation choice I find humorous to hear these gods refer to some guy as like, "Oh, this punk! Look at this punk over here." So yeah, the punk and his little group of freedom fighters, vigilante, border patrol, whatever you want to call
running
them.
with mobs and. You know what?
Yeah.
They're a mob with torches. I feel like maybe Charlottesville.
This little January 6th Charlottesville crowd comes moseying in, and they're going to take in the Bandage Boy because they can get a reward if they can convince the Emperor that this is who's behind all of the bad stuff happening.
Xie Lian tells them to stop, and then he puts a big hole in their theory because he points out that he was just with whoever was doing this. Yeah. That was the black smoke that he was chasing was the person who's behind the brides. Yeah. And they have a limp, and they walk oddly.
And he got him with his little ribbon thing, too, and he's like, I don't see anything on this kid.
Yeah.
I think he got the wrong guy.
Yeah, so he points out that he pokes holes in their theory, which does nothing to dissuade the...
Well, because they're not doing it to, like...
They don't care who's behind it.
Make the brides safe. They're doing it for a cash reward.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we don't have to convince you he's the guilty party. We just have to convince the guy handing out rewards.
Yep. And this dude obviously looks like a freak, so it shouldn't be that hard to convince them. Like, Nanfeng points out that the mountain was covered with a dense evil spiritual mist. How are you able to get here?
Yeah, it convinced them to go out and look for the person with the limp. And the punk and his crew are like, well, that's fine, as long as we capture somebody.
Fine, we'll wait.
Yeah, they go charging out. That's great. We'll still be rewarded for finding all the lost brides. Hurry and take a look.
Oh, yeah, this is where they go mess with the women.
Yeah.
So there's more singing by weird ghostly...
Yeah, he says he's...
noises.
He mentions to the rest of his crew about the butterfly that he saw. He's like, you know anybody who's like, signature is a butterfly?
And the reaction is the...
Yeah.
They both, like, have a one of those, the panels where their eyes are gone because they're freaking out, like... Yeah. Do you guys know who he is? Like, Xie Lian is
apparently
so
they
chill.
do. Yeah.
And it's not good.
But yes, meanwhile, where the brides are, this song is picking up again, and all the brides are kind of, seems like they're all waking up. Mm-hmm. Which is scaring the punk brigade.
Well, in the book it's explained a little bit. So spirits are made of yin and yang energy. Mm-hmm. And in the book it's explained that where the brides were wearing their veils, it was sort of like a barrier that didn't let any energy in. Okay. So they were just immobile ghosts. But when these asshats go in to the temple, they start taking off all the veils and looking at the pretty women.
Right.
And because
Got to make sure you get the right brides. How embarrassing if these were 19 other brides that got
17,
stolen.
yeah.
Or 17 other brides.
Yeah,
that got
no,
stolen.
but because
have to make sure we got the right girls.
because they take off the veils,
Wake them up.
they wake them up
Yeah.
because men have yin energy, or I don't remember. At any rate,
It's a yin yang crossover.
yeah.
That's
At any
the
rate,
important
they allow the brides to absorb their energy, and now the brides are awake,
part. And they're like, "Oh my god, these dead brides are coming back today." Not cool, bro.
and
Not
Xie
cool.
Lian asks Nanfang to lend him some chi so that he can use his communication array to talk to Ling Wen.
Yeah, tells Fu Ya to get everybody out of there.
And he uses Royer to make a barrier around the people.
Yeah.
He thinks he has an idea.
But he's got to go into a private chat and find out if he's right or not.
And so he asks Ling Wen about if
The guy that
Ming
this temple belongs to
Ming
ever had
Guang
any ladies.
had any lady friends.
And he's like, oh, did he?
And this is where we establish the fact that Pei Ming is a slut. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and tell you that Pei Ming is a slut. And I will make fun of Pei Ming for being a slut.
Okay.
However, Pei Ming is the kind of slut I approve of. Because you know going into a relationship with Pei Ming that it is not going to be a, like, wedded bliss type of deal.
Yeah, I think as long as you're honest,
And
there's
he
no
is-
harm in it.
He is very much so the type that is like, we're here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, I'll make fun of him for being a slut, but I do approve
He's the right
morally
kind of slut.
of it. Because he isn't promising wedded bliss to anyone. He never goes into it doing that.
Yeah.
So, we do
Like,
establish...
honey, I'm leaving for war in the morrow. We've only got tonight.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
very much that type of...
Yeah.
And he is a martial god, so, do that what you will. But he had a lot of female friends.
But they narrow it down to one with a limp, right?
Yep, they
Yeah.
do. After some back and forth, they do land on...
Zanji.
Yeah, Xuanxi is...
Xuanji, and she broke her own legs to try and keep him from leaving.
So what had happened was Pei Ming was at war with her country. Mm-hmm. And she's also been burning down all of Pei Ming's temples in the area.
Yeah, because fuck that guy.
She's trying to get his attention.
Yeah.
Her hatred stems from a love so deep that she can't even stand the thought of other worshippers worshipping General Mingwan, much less sharing his heavenly statue. So, basically, the story is that he was at war with her country. She was the general for that country.
Right.
And while they were fighting, they were also having like a star-crossed lovers kind of thing.
Yeah.
She volunteers to betray her country and gives Pei Ming the plans for it. And I do think this is explained later. Gives Pei Ming the plans for it, for what they're getting ready to do.
Right.
And Pei Ming
So
burns
he wins
them.
the fight. Yeah.
Pei Ming burns them. He doesn't want to win a fight that way. But that's also, he's like...
I bet there were probably people under him that were like, I'm okay winning a fight that way. Like, you're a god, dude. I'm a little spearman on the front line. Like, what about me, man? Like, I'm all for cheating. Like, I don't want to die. I got a family.
This is also where they establish that Zhao is not taking the brides for herself, but she's taking them because she's jealous that they get to marry the person that they love. Because that's
why they originally thought it was a groom ghost. Was because it was taking brides.
But she only steals brides who are happy to be going to get married.
Yeah.
So a lot of brides probably get through because like they don't want to be doing this.
Apparently, there's only been 19 or 17 in this whole
100 years. There have only been 17 brides happy to go to their husband.
All the rest of them were you'll grow to love me. Or, Or maybe it's just the ones that went by this temple, or
that's also fair.
There could be very many other caveats, but it could be there's only 17 happy marriages.
I do want to point out here that Ling Wen is underappreciated. She gives all of this information.
Mm-hmm.
Just
yeah.
So yeah, and we get a nice shot of Xuanxi with her messed up legs, so she's kind of hobbling on her knees.
Yeah.
And that is the end of that chapter. And now we are on episode 11.
We open up 11, and they are right there confronting each other.
Xuanxi is right in front of him, and there's a little bit of a distraction because the punks are trying to grab the boy and go run for it to turn him in for it, and it ends up getting the girl killed. So
because they leave. He had formed a protective barrier, and they had stumbled outside of it.
Well, they didn't stumble. Dude's just dragging.
Well, I mean, he stumbled. He's trying to drag the bandaged boy outside, and she's trying to stop him. So the three of them kind of stumble outside the circle, or he's moving outside the circle to take away the kid or whatever. Somehow they end up outside the circle. And she gets murdered for it.
That ends up with the poor girl dead.
But the punk too, right?
Yes, the punk does also.
Everyone except Bandage Boy out of the three of them.
And the poor girl dies, and Xie Lian's trying to convince her that she did help him out a little bit, and she's like, "Don't lie to me now, man. I'm not stupid."
Yeah.
I feel very bad for her. She was so sweet.
She's like, and even now, I burned your... you used to travel thousands of miles to come see me, and now I burn your temples. I steal your... the brides. I've done all this stuff, and you still don't have time for me. You're still sending other people to handle this.
Yep. The poor bandaged boy starts crying after his friend dies.
You can't reward this kind of behavior.
Look, and here's the thing.
Can't. Yeah.
I don't blame Pei Ming for this. It start when I first read this, at the end of this chapter, I was like, God, Pei Ming sucks. I didn't know which version of the story to believe, because the way she tells it, they were in love and then he just stopped. And it was like, well, that's pretty fucked up. And I haven't got a very good impression of the heavens at this point.
Yeah, right.
So,
but even then, when she's like, I even broke my legs so he'd stay.
That part was a little sketchy.
Whew, okay. I didn't That's when I realized I probably wasn't hearing the whole story.
Well, but I didn't know if this was one of those cases of he promised her everything and then she was trying to cash in on those promises.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
So we end.
He binds her up.
Yep.
Our evil
Xuanxi is bound fairly quickly.
Ghost Bride has been defeated. And now he's telling Bandage Boy that he'll take him in.
Yep.
Since he's got nowhere else to go now. Which I imagine will come up again later, but that seemed to come of nothing because Bandage Boy kind of books it pretty quickly on. And
it does come up again later.
It's kind of one of those things and now I'm going to find out what it's like to be a father, to caregiver. Oh no, he left? Oh, okay. Well, on with the adventures.
So, yeah, I did write down with the little asshole with the torch got what he deserved.
Absolutely. Nobody would have gotten killed if he had not been trying to get that reward.
Yep. He just had to be a little bitch.
Yeah.
So, Xuanxi is bound up, and so the start of chapter 12.
Yes.
That's where we are. Yeah.
Our three gods are getting their thank yous.
Well, Pei Su comes to collect Xuanxi, and they do get their thank yous. And he explains the story.
And this is the junior, right? This is the son of...
Well, he's not the son. He's the nephew.
Okay. But she mistakes it for her lover for a second.
Yeah.
And she runs up to him, and then she's like, oh, who are you? Where's Fei Ming?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, just so you know, he still doesn't have any fucking time for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which just seems a little extra salt in the wound that seems unnecessary. And they're like, oh, don't worry, we've got a foolproof solution. We're just going to lock her up underneath the building for all time.
No, they're going to seal her beneath a mountain.
And Xie Lian's like, that's not a forever solution, realize. Right?
I did write down, this seems to be a favorite punishment for MXTX. They also sealed Bingy's father underneath a mountain in Scumvillain.
Yeah. Just put him under the mountain.
Yep, we just sealing people under mountains. That's what we do.
And at least our intrepid hero realizes that's not a long-term solution. That's going to create problems down the road.
Xuanxi also, on her way out, curses Pei Ming that if he ever falls in love with someone else, that they won't want him.
Yeah. And I wondered if that was a real curse. Like, is that going to come into play later? Don't know. I don't know enough yet about this world to know if that's just a throwaway curse or if that's the kind of thing that has weight and will end up being a problem later. But we shall see as we head into episode 13.
Oh yeah, this is where Pei Su explains that she did this to herself, that like she ruined her legs because she wanted to make him feel guilty so he would take care of her. In my opinion, if General Xuanji had just let go of her feelings, none of this would have happened. So you don't need to feel bad for her. This is her own fault.
Yeah, she done this to her damn so.
And yeah, that is the end of episode 12. Episode 13 starts with Xie Lian talking to the bandaged boy at the burial place of his friend. And
he finally convinces him to take off his bandages. And it's revealed that he has this face plague.
It's the human face disease.
The human face disease, which is a weird way to say zits. But apparently this is like a plague that just decimated the countryside a long time ago.
It's the plague that decimated Xie Lian's country. His place. Specifically his place. Yes.
And that they thought was gone and done.
Yeah, so much for not being afraid. He spends all of this time convincing the boy that it's okay, whatever's wrong, it'll be fine. We'll just. And the moment he takes off his bandages,
he reacts so badly that the kid runs off.
Yeah, Xie Lian freezes,
which is a huge problem because that kid's got a disease that they thought they had wiped out, and you can't have him spreading it around.
You also get a flash.
Get a mysterious shot, and my favorite panel. The panel's a weird term because this is a webcomic. It's more like a huge long war scroll. Like the panels kind of intertwined. There's not like distinct paneling.
It's one of the reasons why I have so much trouble when we do the ones on
paper.
No, on the phone.
Oh, on the phone, right.
It's like how many episodes constitutes an episode of our show?
I feel like 29 was probably good. And it was a volume 1 finish. So
it was. I accidentally picked just right.
But this is my favorite panel just because I don't know who this dude is, but he's got a really cool mask. He's dressed all in white. And his mask is kind of like a smiley face. And the eyes are an upside down and right side up smiley face as well. At least at first glance, that's the appearance.
It's a laughing, crying mask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see tears on the other side now. I didn't notice those before. And he might have horns too. There's like a little bump on the mask at the top, which is something. And he's got a cool looking weapon.
Yeah.
And so favorite panel. I want to know more about that guy. He's cool, and we will learn a little more about him later on.
Mm-hmm. You'll learn a lot more about him by the time we're done.
Yeah.
So
they've laid out the brides so they can be identified. And Xie Lian is like, hey, don't have time for that right now. We got to go. You left them laid out. They can come claim them. We got to go. I may have let a little plague boy run around. Regretting it now. We need to get him back. He's going to affect everybody. Problems.
So, yeah. And, yeah. He's... The general asks if human face disease is contagious, and Xie Lian's like, no, it's not contagious. He wants to find the boy and make sure he's okay.
Yeah. Because see, that was my first thought, was that, this is a contagion. We got to stop it. But no, whatever the problem is, it ain't that. I guess he just feels responsible for this kid.
Well, the kid's all alone. The girl was the only person who was feeding him, making sure he wasn't dead.
Well, and he literally told him to reveal his face, and he did, and he freaked out on him.
Yeah.
That's a betrayal of trust. You very much said you weren't going to do the thing, and then you did the thing.
The human face disease is freaking gruesome, though.
It's not a great name.
So yeah, he asks Fu Yao. Nanfang has laid out all the brides.
Yeah.
Fu Yao has gone somewhere and hasn't returned yet.
Yeah, but he comes back covered in blood like you do.
Because
he went to this weird.
The forest that they walked through.
Yeah,
where the umbrella was held up.
Yeah.
Is a forest of. It was a forest of blood.
It's the forest of hanging corpses.
Yes.
And that makes it rain crimson blood And it's because there's a spirit that kind of brings that environment.
Named Qirong.
With him as he travels.
Qirong, I love how Xie Lian knows nothing. Like, he's been a god 3 times, and every time someone is introduced, he's like, who's that?
Well, maybe that's why he keeps losing his job. He's not doing the research. Which is odd, because whenever he's reading books about the gods, and I'm like...
Well, he does, after he ascends, he's like, well, maybe I need to figure out what's going on. Yeah,
I'm like, obviously you're willing to do the research, but he ascended 2 other times. Like,
He didn't start out as a...
I mean, admitted the second time was very brief, but, like, you had time to read the first time, maybe?
He also didn't start out as a scrap collecting god. He started out as a crown prince and a martial god. Like, he started out as a...
I don't have to learn names. I'm too important for that.
He does kind of act like that.
Yeah.
But, and yeah, they talk about the green ghost Qirong isn't much of a threat. According to the palace of Lingwen, he is only considered a near devastation ghost, not a true ghost king.
I love a near devastation. You can take it 2 ways. It means that they're near devastation, like in proximity of it, or almost at the level of devastating shit. Not quite, but near devastation.
It is such Qirong's funny. So wherever he goes, he likes to create a forest of hanging corpses to make it rain crimson blood.
Make it rain Fraser Crane.
He has really bad taste.
Yeah, like that's. I feel like you're missing the forest for the corpse-ridden trees, my friend. Like, the problem isn't his taste.
It's also a problem, though.
I mean, I guess. I mean, if all the corpses that were raining blood were immaculately dressed, I feel like you'd still have the same problem. Like, no matter how good they're dressed, like, the problem is that there's corpses hanging from trees and it's raining blood. That's your problem. So yeah, they're gonna go after him.
They're looking for the boy.
They're gonna go after the boy.
And we start episode 15 in the communication array.
Yep.
He was asking a little bit about
Zhangji is who's getting blamed for all this.
Yeah.
At least in social media circles, he's the one getting blamed for all this.
Poor girl.
Yep.
Xuanxi is the one who ended up making the forest as a kind of a tribute for Qirong.
Yeah. We got a nice shot of the heavenly capital. It's very pretty.
It's very pretty. All of the...
Once again, now our light is white because, of course, we're in the heavenly capital. So we got a lot of white backlighting here.
We get Lingwen explaining that she's going to try to look for the boy with the head bandages, and as for the child spirit, they haven't been able to find anything out about it. And then Xie Lian...
Now we're going to talk about the 4 goods and the 4 bads, as I call them. The 4 famous tales and the 4 famous calamities.
So I'm just going to... I know you don't know. Yeah, we got the 4 famous tales and the 4 calamities. Beauty and symmetry is what I wrote down for that.
Yeah, she goes through a little bit. Like, the prince who pleased the gods is about our hero himself.
No, it's not. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right. It is. I was getting confused.
Okay. Or you're giving away trade secrets.
I'm trying not to.
But then the other 3, the young lord who poured wine, the general who broke his sword, and the princess who slit her throat, they don't really
they are all
cover those
very important later.
Right. I figured. I mean, these are the 4 great works and the 4 great calamities. Like, they ought to... I can already tell the calamities are coming into... You know how I can tell the calamities are going to be important? Is because he straight up says they aren't going to be important. They were like, oh,
you don't trust Lingwen?
Don't even worry about the black water that submerged his ship. Nobody sees that dude anymore. And the green light that roams the dark, not a big deal. And I'm like, there's only one you have to worry about. And I'm like, there's 4 I gotta worry about. Sorry, lady, I do not trust you.
You don't trust Lingwen?
I trust her, but I don't. She is not a reliable narrator. I think she's wrong on this one. I think she thinks she's telling the truth.
The prince who pleased the gods is Xie Lian, and the other 3 scenes are florid tales about a couple of heavenly officials from before their ascensions.
Yeah.
So, as we go, maybe I'll ask you which god you think is for the thing. But later, we'll do that later as you get to see more gods. So
we'll go into 16 and talk about our calamities.
The black water that submerges ships, the green light that roams the dark, that's Shirong.
That's who I want to be. Yeah.
You want to be Shirong?
Well, I mean, just based on that picture, he's wearing all green and it looks like he's hanging out in the dark, which I prefer to the day.
The calamity that dresses in white.
Now, we recognize that mask from our flashback.
And the crimson rain that seeks the flower.
And that's the one that supposedly we got to worry about.
It's so romantic. I love Crimson Rain Salt Flower. I love the name. It is Hua Cheng, which is like probably 99% of the reason why I love it.
They also talk about, they specifically mention Calamity dressed in white no face. And obviously there's a history here. To the point that there's like, oh, that one's gone forever. So we don't even need to talk about that one. And I'm like, I'm like, all right, that's probably going to be the most important one. Since we were supposed to completely ignore that one.
Look at you being all smart. I'm proud of you.
Easy peasy. Like, this one they're handing to me. They aren't handing them all to me. But this one, they're soft kick.
So they're talking about the one calamity that the heavenly realm wishes to never cross. The crimson rain that seeks the flower, or crimson rain salt flower, Hua Cheng. I love it so much.
And what's the calling card? Wrath butterflies. These little shiny butterflies. Wraith
butterflies.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, get it right.
Wrath's a word too, and spelled the same.
There's an I in Wraith that is not in Wrath. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There's an I in Wrath or in Wraith?
Wraith.
Is it not in Wrath?
I don't think so.
Okay, you're probably right. I'm not a good speller.
It says Hua Cheng is definitely a fake name. The only sure thing about his real form is that his red clothing and the carnage and bloody rain that always follows his wake. And then we get a shot of Hua Cheng with the red umbrella and it's just
umbrellas
his back
and the rain
and his hair.
It's a nice shot.
It is so pretty.
Probably my second favorite shot. It's very cool.
As for his true identity, it's even more disputed. Some say he was a cripple tormented by others for being born without his right eye and thus despised the world. Some say he was a young soldier who died fighting for his country and still harbors regrets. Some say that he couldn't let go of a lover who passed before him and became a lovelorn ghost as a result. Another ridiculous theory claims that he ascended and became a heavenly official.
So wait, these are all ridiculous theories? Why are you even giving them to me then?
But chose to leave the heavenly realm and become a ghost.
It's like, why? If there's this many ridiculous theories, and they're all ridiculous theories,
all
you don't
in
have
all,
to give me
his
the
mysterious,
ridiculous theories.
his existence is a mystery. We only know that he was born near Tonglu Mountain and nothing more. I love all of the stories.
Yeah. And then we go to 17. And now we're still talking about this ghost.
We are look, Hua Cheng has entered the chat, motherfuckers.
Hua Cheng was wandering around and a bunch of fucking generals were like, okay, this dude's a ghost, we're gods.
He challenged 33 heavenly officials.
Yeah.
And he actually
them.
he challenged. So the cool thing is one of my favorite parts of this particular part is he had only just become a devastation level ghost. They do explain, I don't know if it's already happened, but there are different tiers for the ghost.
Mm-hmm. They've mentioned, I don't think they've gone through every tier, but they, like when they were talking about the near calamity level ghost.
Devastation is the highest level of ghost.
Yeah. And I guess if you're killing that many gods.
So he challenged 33 heavenly officials, and those officials had decided to band together and accept the challenge. He defeated the martial gods first.
Also, he has a sword that looks very familiar to the sword that the white-faced dude was carrying. They're probably not the same sword, but they both are very stylish and cool.
Oh, yeah. Hua Cheng, although a devastation ghost, was still a fledgling who wasn't powerful enough for the gods to fear him. After just one battle, the attending martial gods were all wiped out. And then he turns around and argues with their spiritual weapons were all, no matter how powerful, were all shattered by Hua Cheng's strange saber, which is, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, is Yiming. And I love Yiming, and Yiming is precious, and I want 20. So,
fair enough.
After the martial gods defeat, he turned around and
he joined the debate club.
Basically, and wiped the fucking floor.
Debated some gods into
not only
quivering masses of crime.
Not only was he able to defeat martial gods, he is also clever and intelligent enough to argue with civil gods. Like, he humiliated several civil gods from the heavens, and he became famous after just one battle.
Oh.
But that isn't the only reason that he's scary. I love that, like, they spend 2 chapters just talking about Hua Cheng.
I mean, yeah, he's gonna be a big player, obviously.
So he asked the 33 defeated officials to fulfill the promise they made when they accepted the challenge. He had volunteered his ashes, and in return, if he lost, they could have his ashes and destroy him.
Right.
But if he won, he wanted them to return to being mortals. Do you think the gods kept their promise, Reno?
I had to, right? I mean, they gave their word.
my baby kicked ass.
Yeah.
I love it. So they all 33 gods were like, nah, we are not doing that. We're gonna just act like this didn't happen. We did not get our asses handed to us.
What was the reasoning? They didn't need a reason. They decided they didn't want to be mortal. That was the reasoning.
So, in retaliation, Hua Cheng burned all of their temples.
Yeah.
It is important to establish that you were right. Gods draw their powers from believers. So that's why burning incense and having people pray to them and give them offerings is so important. That's
and
how
why
they
burning
get
the temple is bad. Because that's that's like one of your solar batteries getting destroyed.
The more temples and more believers, the stronger the god. So when Hua Cheng burns their temples, he basically cuts off their godhood and it kills them. Because without their believers, their powers fade. And they fade away, basically.
Right.
So I wrote down here, Hua Cheng kept them honest. I don't see any problem with this particular.
Yeah, don't make bets you aren't going to fulfill.
They do. I don't know if they ever explain it in the...
Don't bet anything you're not willing to lose, I guess.
Also
is
true.
The answer, yeah.
Well, I don't know if they explain it in the comic ever, but they also explain that after Hua Cheng defeats the 33 gods and destroys all of their temples, a lot of people start praying to Hua Cheng. Which is like he's a ghost, but it's kind of funny that they start leaving him offerings.
So does he get power from that, or will that be explained later?
I'm not sure that it's ever explained. He does have spiritual power.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how that works as a ghost versus as a god.
Gotcha.
So the only 2 heavenly officials that didn't participate were Generals Nan Yang and Hua Xin. So, Mu Xing and Feng Shen didn't have any part of it.
Which also means, because they were non-participants, they technically got a lot of promotions.
Well, and they also
because you got to think all these other gods are no longer here. It's like I used to pray to 12 gods. Now there's only one god left to pray to.
Well, and they also. Hua Cheng didn't burn their temples down because they didn't take the bet.
Right. So once again, they became more powerful because everyone else got owned, or a lot of people did.
While heavenly officials were patrolling at a night festival at night during the Ghost Festival, Hua Cheng bumped into them several times, and they fought at range. I was lucky enough to witness one of those fights, and the wraith butterflies Hua Cheng controls are truly terrifying. Xie Lian's like, he's got a little sweat bead coming down. He's like, I actually think they're kind of cute.
Yeah, the butterflies are great. And then we get one of the butterflies returning to our bloody red prince, Ghost, and he's like, yeah, Your Highness. Almost like he was doing spy work. I don't know if that butterfly was doing spy work or not, but...
You're very clever, Reno.
It seems like a good spy network to have. And that ends 18. 19, we go back to the Discord chat room. Within the communication array. Everybody's talking. Somebody... Is this where a dude is handing out...
No, I think that's later.
Okay, yeah, this is not.
No, this is just
blessings handed out.
All of these heavenly officials are talking to each other, talking about flower viewing and all this stuff. And
yeah, it's like, hey, I want to travel to this area. Oh, you can come stay with me. My garden's blooming. All this very nice stuff.
Xie Lian starts trying to read books in the group chat.
It's
to
crickets.
Everyone else, and I'm like,
hey,
why would you do that?
Hey, what are we doing? Don't knock it.
Hey. We're not in a group chat. Oh. No, it's just a very weird thing. It's kind of like when everyone's talking about their favorite hamburger restaurant and someone else just butts in and starts talking about like their favorite philosopher. It's like, that's not what we're talking about. You can't just swing the conversation over to what you want to talk about.
In which I wrote down here though, in which Xie Lian is us when we're reading something new. Poor guy. I'd listen to him. I feel bad for him.
I might. Depends on what he's saying. But in this case, he has literally emptied out the chat room.
Yeah, everyone leaves when he comes in.
And he's like, okay, everyone's gone. I need to find a place for a temple, because if I don't get some worshipers soon, this will be another short stint in Godhood. And he finds a very pretty place. He's like, oh,
if there's no one to worship me, then I can at least worship myself.
Not sure that's how Godhood works.
Well, that's how a lot of men act, though, ain't it?
Well, if there's no one to worship us, we must worship ourselves.
Now, in chapter 20, we come in with Xie Lian
working on the new shrine. This is a tough start for a new shrine, because he's fortunate enough that a lot of villagers stumble across it. But when he starts telling them what his areas of expertise are, they're kind of like,
yeah,
there's actually way better gods we can preach.
Xie Lian does a real shit job of selling
He's not doing a good salesmanship. He really isn't.
It's he calls it Pukey Shrine.
Wait, I have it written down. Yeah, Puji Shrine.
Yep.
Which is in a Puji area, so it's like, it's just named after where it is. And like that, you could have named it better too. Like, name it after you goober. Like, you're trying to get people to think about you, to light incense for you. Don't name it after the hill it's on. Like, what are you doing?
It's Puget Village. Come on.
I want to shake him.
I do love that, like...
So this is actually... I do think this is a good... So... They just think that he's a Taoist. They don't... Yeah. They're not aware that he is the god.
Yeah, so he puts a little sign out.
He's asking for
yeah.
donations. Any kind of donations, fine.
Yeah.
You know?
He's cleaning up the area. He's eating. He's saying this really is a nice place.
It's a very pretty little...
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just, man.
He could do a better job of trying to...
He really does need to sell himself.
We get a little flashback because he on the beginning of chapter 21, he's walking through red maple leaves, and he gets a bit of a flashback to when he was younger and he was the crown prince, and
hanging out with some friends.
Mooching and Fengshen are behind him. Makes him a little sad.
And also makes him almost get ran over by a cow.
Even the animals are drawn pretty well in this.
It's very pretty. Yeah. But he gets a ride.
Yep, he gets offered. He's been out scrap collecting, and he asks for a ride back to the village.
Right after he puts his stuff on the wagon and he hops up, it gives a nice little unnecessary butt shot. I just wanted to point out it's a very nice butt shot.
I did not notice.
Yeah, I did. I actually screenshot it, so it'll be in my notes. And
but this is not the only person getting a ride on this hay barrel. There's some dude in red also getting a ride. And we have been warned about dudes in red previously.
Seeing Xie Lian collecting trash and handling all the shit people still talk about him 800 years later is quite impressive.
Yeah, he's pretty calm about it.
He's reading through a scroll of a catalog of 100 heavenly officials.
Yeah.
And he's reading about himself. He's a martial god, a plague god, and a trash god. It's just the little chibi drawing is just like, ugh.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I wish I was a god of water and fortunes. They seem to get all the worshippers.
Yeah, people love them.
And his friend in red explains why. He's like, yeah, when you're out on the ocean, like making your fortunes, that's who you're praying to.
Well, and it is. I do think there's a fun back and forth between him and the dude in red. Because Xie Lian says, well, it's not that big of a difference. All gods are the same, and everyone is born equally. And we find out this is San Long.
Yeah, you can go ahead and call him.
San Long is like, if that's the case, none of the gods would exist.
Yeah, if we were all equal, we would all be equal.
Yeah.
It's that line from The Incredibles. If everyone's special, then nobody is. Like, if we're all gods, then none of us are gods. And, yeah, they take it in stride.
I wrote down random dude on the haystack wasn't there before. But also, Pretty Boy in Red is a fountain of information.
Yeah, he's like, go ahead and ask. I got answers.
Yep.
And then every episode ends with the same picture of two characters under an umbrella, and I'm pretty sure we met the second of those characters now.
I'm so proud of you.
I feel like that may be. But we've also.
Who do you think San Long is?
I mean, I feel like he's going to bring some red rain before all is said and done. That's my prediction.
So since you did. You're right, and since you've managed to somehow pick up on all the tiny little clues.
Well, it's like 3 episodes before, it's like, this dude always dresses in red, probably going to look like a young guy, and then 3 episodes later, we made a dude dressed all in red who looks like a really young guy, and it's like, meh. And he's doing very, like, he knows stuff he shouldn't know. He's like... He's aware.
He doesn't hide himself well.
He's
and
not
here's
trying
the thing.
to, I don't think.
Well,
like, is he? Like, I don't think he's trying to hide himself.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, Hua Cheng is a bad liar.
Yeah.
So I think if he had tried, it wouldn't have ended much better. But
he knows his strengths.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't lie anyway. I will not try.
But Xie Lian also just straight up asks him about himself.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out that the crimson rain that seeks the flower, Hua Cheng, and San Long's like, yeah, go ahead and ask. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer. And that's how that chapter ends. But chapter 22 starts with Hua Cheng saying that he once went to destroy a ghost's dwelling and a bloody rain followed. When he was leaving, he saw a pitiful flower that was being beaten by the blood rain, and he tilted his umbrella to protect it.
Yeah.
So, Xie Lian asks what Hua Cheng looks like. And I want to point out...
He hops over the hay barrel to sit next to him and be like, yeah, what do you think he should look like?
I fully 100% believe that he was trying to figure out how to look the prettiest for Xie Lian. What do you want him to look like? Because I can look like anything, man.
It also sort of feels like he was like, I'm going to make my face look like your face. Like...
I just think
maybe I'll get lucky and you're a narcissist and you want a guy that looks just like you.
They look very different.
They look like hairstyles are different. Faces, they look very similar to
I wrote down here, if you've already guessed that this is Hua Cheng, I want to point out he was trying to figure out how to be appealing to Xie Lian. Like, right now.
He's also like, I can't be him. That dude's blind in one eye. And he's like, he's a shape changer, dude. Like, he can look like anything. But yeah, Xie Lian accepts that for now as a... it's like, yeah, it can't be him. You're right. That's a good point.
Well, he doesn't...
Why did he dig his eye out? Oh, insanity. Yeah, and then ... Like, I do not accept that answer.
Okay. We'll let that go for now. You're obviously not willing to tell me. So... Xie Lian asks if Hua Cheng has any weaknesses, and
he talks about his
San Long
ashes.
says it's his ashes,
which we already know are currently missing.
There's a curse. San Long explains that there's a custom in the ghost realm for a person or a ghost to give their ashes to someone if they trust that person to take care of them. And so Hua Cheng's only weakness, all ghosts' weakness, are their ashes. So, I mean, the only way to get rid of Hua Cheng is to
find and
destroy
dispose of his ashes, yeah. They share some food. They share a rice ball together, which is very sweet. Or a dumpling, maybe. Fried dumpling, can't tell. a white ball of something that they split in half.
San Long finally gives his name because he's the third child in the family, so everyone calls him San Long. San Long is basically like a nickname.
Yeah.
And he explains that he argued with his family and was kicked out of the house, so he's just
walking around, hanging out.
A likely story.
And then, like you said, they share food.
Yeah.
And
they realize that, like, it's getting dark and it's the day of a ghost festival.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, well, we certainly shouldn't have been traveling this late at night on the night of the ghost festival. Well, lesson learned.
Xie Lian has the worst luck. They traveling just happens to
fall. The smallest amount of
Ghost
pre-planning.
Well, I don't really think that they had
365 days a year, and this is the one you picked to travel at night.
Well, there are a lot of different ghost festivals.
Oh, man.
And I also don't think that they had, like, calendars. You know, it'd probably be a little bit harder to keep track of days whenever...
That's true.
You know.
But yeah, basically they see some weird lights ahead, and they're like, if we pick the wrong path, we will never be able to return.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost night, what a bitch. That takes us 23,
yep.
And we get to see our ghost, which all are headless, and they're carrying their heads. And so their heads are all talking and arguing with each other, which is funny. I like that two of them are like, hey, I think you've got my head, dude. And he's like, I do not have your head. The head you're holding's hideous. I'm not letting you have my head. There's this whole big ghost head argument. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I wanted to mention it while I was thinking about it because it made me laugh.
It's very cute. No, Xie Lian uses Royer again to create another barrier.
Yep,
and
another ribbon barrier.
San Long calls Xie Lian Giga, which... I know Giga explains it that it's an older term. It's an older brother. It's a term of endearment.
Mm-hmm.
But because of BLHQ, I have heard them say Giga so much in like a flirty voice that every time I see it now, I see it as
It's a flirtatious thing.
flirty little coy. Like, I know it has actual meaning. I know it's a term of respect. I just hear it.
I understand. It's like when I hear someone with like a Latino accent say "papi." Like I hear that in a sexual way, and I'm sure it's not always meant that way, but that is the way it sounds now because it's been used in that way in too many songs and too many stories, and now it's there. And they say they have to be quiet. They have to keep quiet, and the old guy's like getting ready to cough. And so they just put him to sleep. They use some god magic and put him to sleep.
I actually think it's an acupuncture point.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, he knocks him out.
I did see an ouch. Yeah. But he goes to bed and they put him on the wagon. And they're like...
This is where the ghosts fight.
Yeah, we'll just ride through quietly. And the ghosts can't see them, so they keep like running into the side of the wagon and bumping into the wagon.
Speaking of San Long being a bad liar, Hua Cheng is entirely too chill about this whole thing.
Oh yeah, he's not concerned at all. Again, he knows too much and he's too calm.
But he does pretend to be scared.
Even she is. Oh, I thought it was she that was saying he was scared.
No, Xie Lian's like, are you alright? And Hua Cheng's like, no, I'm scared.
You sneaky devil.
And I don't think Xie Lian buys it for a second. He's got like the 3 little dots again. And he's like,
I don't think he's buying it.
Yeah.
But they come to an intersection, and remember, if they take the wrong path, they'll be lost forever. So they start using the sticks to like consult with the gods to find which path is the right path. And
Xie Lian asks Hua Cheng to do it because
Xie Lian has
he's not
the
getting
worst
answers.
luck.
He's getting no answers from these sticks.
It was so funny, poor Xie Lian.
And San does it right off the bat, like first try. He's like, yeah, we should go that way. Like, all right.
Yep. And San Long, and this one ends with little chibi drawings of like.
Yeah, the
Xie
last
Lian
few
eating.
have had little chibi.
I love it so
versions.
much.
Yeah.
It is such a cute little shot. I loved it. It made me so happy. All right.
And of course, surprise, surprise, they chose the right path, and they are traveling on in 24. Good for them.
Xie Lian notes that it's strange. It's not strange to be knowledgeable, but his face is so impassive among hundreds of ghosts at night. This man is too calm.
Yeah. So he tries to read San's palm to get some answers about whether he's a ghost, whether he's
I
a
wrote
god.
down here. I want Xie Lian to read my poem.
Whether he's
Well, because ghosts can take many forms, but
Yeah.
they have a lot of trouble with details when they do
they're
stuff.
basically AI programming. Like AI has trouble doing hands. So do ghosts. But he reads his palm, and dude's got a normal ass palm that a ghost could not concentrate on to have worry lines and all that other stuff.
Yep, but he gives him what I'm going to assume is like a half made up kind of cold read, basically talking about his personality and his fortunes and
stuff.
his
More stuff he's noticed while hanging out with him than like psychic stuff.
He literally says, "Do I need to fabricate more for him?"
Yeah, because he's like, wait, is that it? Is that all you gotta say?
He's like, "What else do you want to know?" Because he's told him about, like, you know, you got good fortune.
Yeah,
and
the
you're
easy
persistent.
stuff.
Yeah. And he's like, San Long's like, well, can you tell me about my marriage? Can you tell me what's going to happen in the future with love?
He's like, you'll be fine. You're a good looking guy. You'll be great.
Yeah, San Long, are you trying to get me to compliment you?
Yeah, you want me to say something nice, don't you?
San Long over here fishing for compliments.
But they wake up, they get where they're going, and they wake up the old man, and they're like, we got you safely through. And he thanks them. And this was another opportunity where it's like, tell him who you are. Maybe he'll light some incense for you, man. Like, you're missing all these opportunities to be worshipped. You could be the god of safe travels. Like, wouldn't that probably get you some incense?
He's the god of misfortune. How can the god of misfortune be the god of safe travels?
Because you tell this old man, I got you through this shit. And then the old man goes and lights incense and says that's your thing.
Look, you have to know that this old man walking away saying, I'll do as you say, I'll head back right away and not speak a single word of what has happened. That is not going to happen.
Exactly. He's going to tell everyone. So again, if you want your rep, you have got to give your name to people. You're trying to get worshipers. You performed the equivalent of a fucking miracle getting this old man through this ghost town, and you didn't even get credit for it. It's a bad move.
So San Long and Xie Lian get off at his shrine, and he asks San Long where he's planning on going.
He's like, I tell you where you're going. You're going to my shrine, baby.
And Xie Lian,
he's like, I'll go sleep in a cave. He's like, come sleep in my shrine.
Xie Lian invites him to stay,
Yeah.
and
That takes us to 25.
San Long agrees to stay.
Of course he does.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
He takes his bag and they go inside. It's so cute.
And this is where we get a shot of another one of these prison tattoos. This one's an ankle one.
Oh yeah, they're inside.
And I don't know it. Then you have him clamping down on it, and it's saying lovers. Does it say?
Hold on.
When he's trying to hide the tattoo on his ankle, like.
They're laying down on a mat, and it's covers, not lovers.
That makes so much more sense. I was so First of all, you don't need the word covers. It's quite obvious he's covering it. And second of all, I thought that said lovers. And I was like, wait, does that tattoo say lovers? Is it a lovers prison ankle tattoo? What the hell is going on here?
No, it's another curse shackle.
That C and that L looks like they look similar to me.
That's fair. That is a fair.
And then we have what I thought was the funniest scene. Santa says, I think this place is great. You're just missing a few things here and there. And then you have a shot of like them sleeping, and there's literally nothing there but the bed. He's like trying to be nice. He's like, oh, you're just missing a thing or two. And you get a shot of the place, and it's like, there's literally nothing here.
Well, and San Long's like, you need a
He specifically is telling him you need a concentration for worship, a statue. But he gets him... he gets talking about a painting instead. I guess they're easier than statues.
Yeah. I would imagine so, because you don't need like a statue. You need like clay or wood. You need to carve. A painting is, you know. So.
And we get another thing where
San Long knows
more than he should. He's like, oh yeah, I've heard of you, Xie. Yeah, oh yeah, I know you, and I could draw you easily. No, I'm sorry, not you. I could draw that god that we're both talking about, but that I don't know who he is. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
What do you think about this Crown Prince of Shanli?
Jesus Christ, yeah.
We're both lying to each other, so we're just
we both know we're lying. I feel like they both know like neither of them believe what the other one's saying.
Well, they both know that something really sus is happening here.
Yeah.
And like San Long is pretending to be San Long.
And from this drawing that he
Xie
does,
Lian,
I'm pretty sure that San knows.
Xie Lian is pretending
Xie Lian
to be a Taoist, just a random roaming cultivator. And yeah, they're both... But San Long is of the opinion that the Heavenly Emperor hates Xie Lian.
No.
And
San offers to draw him.
He does.
And he's like, no, that won't be necessary.
He's gonna get... They go to bed.
Yeah. Well, one of them does. Yeah. San Ling stays up and then does the...
It's so pretty!
The creepy watch you sleep thing that some people find pretty. And then apparently gets up and does some paint work over the evening. Because we open on 26 to find he made a very beautiful... this painting's awesome. Like, I would put this painting in my house.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
San Long knows how to do some very nice art.
Yeah, and Shay's now got, like, a centerpiece for worship, which will help his temple do better. Hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah.
He also is outside chopping wood.
He's chopping wood. He's earning his keep. He's chopping wood to make a door.
And in the middle of that, Xie Lian asks to fix his hair up.
Yeah, and this is where he imagines opening a hair salon, and then he sees how bad he does on his hair, and immediately closes up his imaginary hair salon, which I thought was very funny as well.
He's doing his hair because he thinks that the strands of hair is something that a ghost couldn't imitate.
Yeah, it's once again also, he is also spying on him again.
Well, he's trying to figure out his real identity because he knows San Long is sus.
Yeah.
Child's been sus since he appeared out of nowhere on the fucking hay bale.
Yeah.
But he gets distracted too because he's just brushing and brushing and brushing.
You have very nice hair.
And San Long as a fox says "Gege." I love it so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he does a really shit job, and I like this little panel right in the middle. Where he's
him closing down his
closed shop.
I thought that the opening of the shop, like 2 scenes higher, and then closing it 2 scenes later, it was very funny.
But
he made him some doors because he has to put evil warding talismans up because every good shrine has evil warding talismans, and you need to put those on doors. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, that's not of effect.
I mean, I didn't until just now, but everyone else knew that.
But San Long's got some skills. He's good at making doors. He's good at chopping stuff down. He's good at drawing pictures.
Yeah. And, but their revelry, and they're making some tea. They're getting ready to have some tea, but it is interrupted by a guy busting in saying, "Half Moon Pass, save me, save me." Mm-hmm. Which is weird. I'll admit it. That's weird.
It's a random
random shit.
Random dude coming out of nowhere.
Which takes us to number 27, where he is relating his story. And it's very funny because they're saying, our gods in disguise are saying, "I've heard there's an oasis in the Gobi Desert in the northern, that the view of the half moon at night is very beautiful. So it's called Half Moon Pass. Is that the place you're talking about?" And he says, "Oasis, beautiful view." Yeah, that might have been what it looked like 100 years ago or something. But it does not look like that now. I'm like, ooh.
Xie Lian, this is why you need to get out more. Age. This is why you need to get out more, buddy.
You are giving away your age, my friend. Because the thing you are describing, it has not looked like that in a long time.
So the random dude explains that he was traveling with some merchants that wanted to get through.
Yeah, but half of every group that goes through this pass gets killed.
Yeah, it's hard to get through.
Yeah.
And they both notice that something is strange. And San Long's like, "You ran all the way here from Half Moon Pass.
Not tired, not sweaty, didn't even ask for water, won't take the water I'm offering you."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sus.
He does drink the water.
Yeah, but he can immediately tell when he does that this dude is like a puppet being controlled by a third party.
Yep, a hollow sound. He must not be a living person.
Which is very cool. Like the scene they show of him drinking the water, and it's like a see-through form of his body, and you see the water going in. I was like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, okay, you can stop drinking now. You're obviously faking it. You're just wasting water.
He tries to attack him, but Xie Lian...
He got them crazy eyes at this juncture.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Xie Lian, being the rather impressive martial god that he is, manages to just flick the sword away with his finger.
Yeah.
And knock it off. And then the puppet shell just kind of... He tries to run, and then...
It looks like he trips. No, he slams into the gate.
No, what happens is if you look right here, San Long picks up like a pencil or something.
Oh, a piece of the incense?
Maybe
burns?
it's the incense. He picked up a piece of the incense, though.
Oh, and he threw it,
throws it and nails him
in
to
the
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he dissolves.
Yeah, which I guess that's just how puppets be doing.
Mm-hmm. So, apparently, they figure out pretty quick that this is a lure to get him to Half Moon Pass. So, Xie Lian hops in the communication array
to ask about Half Moon Pass. And this is when everybody's getting these fucking merits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ooh, Windmaster handing out merits like they're going out of style. We all got merits. And once again, I'm like, get you some of these merits. You need some merits, man. I don't think you've earned one merit since you become a guy. I don't think one person's lit incense in your name. Get some of these win merits. But he mentions Half Moon Pass, and once again, everyone's either talking about merits or ignoring him. But he gets a private call from his from our press secretary,
Lin Wing.
Yeah, Lin Wing, and she says
Ling Wen. I'm sorry.
Ling Wen, and she says, "Hey, don't ask about that in the community chat anymore. Trust me on this one."
Yeah.
Like you can't. Yeah, don't. Shh.
Yeah, this is and he explains that an empty shell person came to him and told
it's
him
like
that
I'm not just bringing this up for no reason. Like I kind of got threatened.
Yeah, and Ling Wen is like, look, you don't want to get involved in this. This is not a good situation. If Your Highness wishes to know more, my advice is to not do it through heavenly realms.
Yeah,
and don't let anyone else know what you're doing.
Fair enough. Nice to have the warning.
San Long asks, or Xie Lian asks San Long or tells him that he might need to go far away.
And 28. It's basically, I have to go far away. Well, I'm coming.
Yeah, San Long's like, all right, I'll come with you. I'm good.
And guess who comes back up? It's the two sidekicks from way earlier.
Look, this interaction is hilarious, just as is.
Yeah.
When you figure out stuff later, it gets funnier.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, they start out and they immediately are like, who's this weird dude you're just hanging out with that you don't know shit about? Time to zap him with lightning. And sure enough, they both start throwing some crackles at him.
So they're talking about Half Moon Pass, and whenever Nanfeng and Fu Yao come in, and they start crackling, and
Xie Lian's like, hey, y'all need to calm down. This building is barely standing.
And this guy's my guest, so it's very rude for you guys to
just
try and destroy him. Please don't kill my guest. It's going to make me look bad.
And San Long turns around and is like, well, okay, so first, I think this is
kind of, it's funny because they react kind of how I think everyone should react to this guy. It's like, he is super suspicious. We don't know nothing about him. What is he doing here? Why have you befriended him so quickly? Like, why do you trust him so much? Like, they're asking all the questions I was asking.
Fu Yao is straight up asking 21 questions. Where'd you meet him? What's his last name? Where does he live? Why are you together?
Why is he calling you gay? Why you guys sleeping in the same place? Like, why you guys sharing a bed? I got questions. Yeah,
you dared to bring him with you despite not knowing anything about him. What if he has bad intentions? And Xie Lian's like, do you guys think he has anything I can take? Or there's anything of mine he can take?
Look around, dude. Like, is he gonna take my bedroll? Like, my 2 pieces of incense? The painting that he made? It seems unlikely.
And then Sun Long being
Sun Long's like,
my favorite
are these your
person.
servants? Oh, they can help. And throws a broom, which weirdly not received well.
Look, I did start this kind of knowing I would like Hua Cheng,
Yeah.
but actually reading the book, all of his little interactions with people where he is just this little smartass,
And he is.
he is so beautiful.
Yeah.
He speaks to my very soul, Reno.
Yeah. I understand this. But
So-
they end up blowing a hole in the wall trying to get him to reveal his... Sanlang to... I keep saying Sanjay. Sanlang to reveal his true form. It does not work.
he just kind of
Moves to the side a little bit.
Oh, I thought it just like blew up around him
No,
and
he
didn't
just-
reveal his
he just-
true form.
It just right here, it says tilt. He just kind of like,
Okay.
he just kind of he doesn't flinch. He just kind of moves his head.
Once again, if I had a complaint about the art style here, it's that sometimes their movement showing is not always... In fact, sometimes it's so bad they have to write the word tilt and sidestep so that you know that something like that has happened.
But he blows a hole in the wall, and then Xie Lian gets mad.
Which-
And wraps him up with Roye.
Yeah, because they're busting his place up.
Well, yeah, it's barely standing as is.
Like, look at this place. It can't survive you idiots fighting for much longer.
Yeah, he drags him outside and is like, I'll be right back, man.
Yeah. He
Read
shows
this.
them the sign.
Read this and tell me what it says.
And they're like, this is the saddest thing. And he's like, no, it would be even sadder if you guys knocked the whole house over and then the sign said, hey, build me a house. That would be the saddest thing.
I do love how Xie Lian's whole argument basically boils down to, of course he's suspicious, but if he's just hanging out with me while I collect trash, you can let him be.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get shingles for my house, dude. Like,
Yeah, stop destroying this poor place. And they're trying to give him shit for dignity.
Yeah.
And it's like,
You realize that this is where we are. Like,
Yeah.
just calm down.
and he's
man.
also saying, I'll need even more dignity if you knock over my temple.
Yeah.
Like, I will have lost even more dignity.
yeah,
But-
he's hit it off really well with Sun Long. Leave him alone. Since
And-
our fates are so similar, stop asking so much.
Yeah, and the four of them are now kind of looking at each other, and there's like, oh, you look familiar to me. Hey, you look familiar to me as well. And then there's a scene of like a cat and a wolf fighting, I guess showing that they're getting
don't
along
like
like
each
cats
other.
and dogs. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So that's not going great.
But it does help out a little bit because
They have an array.
They can draw a shortening distance array so that they can get to
Banyu Pass quicker, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, some good news.
And I really love this part.
And this
So-
is when they find out that the two of them had shared a bed for a night.
Yeah, Xie Lian is wrapping up the bed, and he says, "This is our bed," and they're both like, "Our?
Yeah.
You guys sleep together?"
Xie Lian, is there an issue?
Yeah.
He looks so confused, and this is the faces.
And this is also where we get Sun Ling also has some strange scribbles on his arms, which might also be prison tattoos. Also might be these binding.
It is something entirely
Tats.
different.
Yeah, I see. It looked different, so I wasn't sure. But I also think that the writer wanted me to think it was the same thing. Not gonna trick me.
So they're talking about going to Banyu Pass.
Yep.
The Grand Tutor of Half Moon, or Banyu Grand Tutor, was one of the two demonic cultivators. And the other was from a cultivator from the Central Plains named Grand Tutor Feng Shin. But this Grand Tutor didn't have any relations with the Half Moon. So let's go back to the demonic cultivation that struck Half Moon Pass. And then they're going to talk about that as they head over.
Yeah. The last scene is them walking through the portal.
Heaven officials' blessing, may no evil follow.
Yeah.
Activate distant shortening array.
Sure.
End of volume. End of volume 2.
And I'm sure no evil follows because they asked very nicely.
So the first arc was mainly Xie Lian ascending again and destroying parts of heaven, getting sent on a mission from the Emperor to solve a ghost groom case, and finding out Pei Ming's ex was kidnapping women. He reported it to the capital and then went down to Earth to start his own temple and ran into San Long.
Yeah, and now
He's made a friend.
They're going on a trip. It's completely forgotten about finding that bandaged boy.
Oh, it's just a back issue. We gotta go deal with Banyu Pass.
I'm sure it'll come up again. But for now, yeah, forget that kid.
All right. So, big question.
Big question time. All right, I'm ready.
We got so many origin stories for Hua Cheng. What fake origin story would you spread about yourself, and for what reason?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I would say that, like, I think I'll be a spirit. Spirits seem to have more fun in this world than gods. Gods seem to have a lot of obligations. So I think I'll be a spirit that is summoned whenever you ask a question that you don't know the answer to into, like, an empty space. Like, that would be how you would summon me. And I was born from the question. And the only way to defeat me is to figure out what the question is and figure out where it was asked and ask it there at that place again. And that's how you will dispel me into the winds. And that's the only way you can get rid of me. And until then, I can just travel anywhere anyone's asking a question that they don't know the answer to and cause trouble. Usually lies about the answers or half-truths. You know, father lies, kind of devil sort of thing. I'm just fuck with people.
It's also got a Riddler vibe to it, too.
Pure accident, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're combining a lot of your favorite things.
But yeah,
there.
I'd like to be a little trickster god who can, who you have to somehow figure out what the question was that summoned me into being. The big unanswered question. What is it? And where was it asked? And that's the only way to defeat me.
That's really good. That would be a hard defeat too.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to go easy into that good night. I want to be.
No, I'm impressed. I hadn't thought of anything.
My head too. For the record, we never give each other the big question in advance.
Nope.
It's always just top of the head thing. So be wowed, audience.
That was impressive.
Thank you. What about you? You've had time to think about it.
I have, and I'll be honest.
You better have one as good as mine.
I'll be honest with you. I don't have one at all, so give me 2 seconds.
That looks so bad for you.
It does. Here's the
Cecilia
thing.
Rose, what are you doing over there?
Mainly being really tired.
That's
so, I'd probably go with like a femme fatale type of like murdering. So like maybe find like someone who you could go to find poison for like abusive husbands or something. You know,
Now, are you a red dress walks into the bar and everybody drops their drinks kind of femme fatale, or sort of like a dances naked under the light of the moon, lives in the woods and makes weird concoctions out of herbs and mushrooms?
The second one. The second one.
Could have guessed, but yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely the second one.
Yeah.
I definitely there's a like the weird little lizard part of my brain still really likes the idea of being able to mush things into like a little mortar and pestle and like
alchemy
making
seems fun.
It does.
It really
oh
does.
my god.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would definitely be something like that. Like my origin story would definitely involve like murdering men who abuse their power.
That's fair.
I feel like
you'd have no shortage of customers, I'm sure.
Facts. I mean, out of all those women, only 17 of them were happy to go to their husbands. So I feel
that is not canon. That is only our head canon.
I feel like I would be a very worshipped ghost.
Because
I would also be a ghost. I don't want to be a god.
No,
it doesn't seem like a good place.
No,
I'm not.
I'm glad you agree with me on that. The godhood seems like a drag.
It's not. It doesn't seem like they're having the best time. I wouldn't want to do it.
It does not.
So no, I would definitely be a ghost, and I would be the kind of ghost who would. My origin story would be one of those like
We murder men.
There's a spot in the woods where everything that grows is unhealthy and poisonous, and if you go out there and you know the spirit of Cecilia's real name and you say it 3 times, she may come and help you. If your cause is true and the person that you want to hurt has a dick, she may come and help you.
Look. Especially, I imagine, especially in the feudal times and like ancient cultures.
Like I said, no shortage of customers in those
There are
times.
definitely enough just causes for some men that need to be murdered.
I can't argue that. Can't argue that. But that was fun. It really is nice to finally have started this so that I know all the weird shit that you put on Facebook and Instagram, like what it means. I feel like I've gotten codes now.
You're gonna be able to crack those codes.
I'll be able to crack these codes slowly but surely. In 2 weeks, come back with us. We're going to finish Justice, issues 7 through 12.
Whoop whoop.
Yep, we're gonna knock that out. See how a utopia ran by Lex Luthor, Toyman, and Riddler, and Poison Ivy, and Cheetah. See how that kind of utopia works out for him. And
I'm nervous.
You should be. And how the good guys just come and ruin everyone's fun.
Wait, they.
Yeah, that's just how they do. But until then, all of the social medias are in the show notes. Like, follow, subscribe. We got a Patreon with free extra episode every month with lots of different tiers you can join. Be your own ally.
By heaven official's blessing, may no evil follow.
May no evil follow you. And all you got to do is ask, and no evil shall. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.